Well, hello, hello, hello. How is it going? It's the RambleCast. This is May 1st, 2024. I'm your host, Cody Toombs. We do not have a Corbin today. My understanding is he is currently on a romp through 10,000 BC. There are no dinosaurs. Actually, 10,000 BC was a notoriously pretty dull stage in Earth history. So yeah, I'm not sure why that he chose that. Whoops. Accidentally hit the transition button. Scary thought, I know. But hey, we're back. So, Metric Brawl. I was just thinking the funniest thing about your name. I wonder if you have an American counterpart. I'm guessing he would be known as Imperial Fistfight. I don't know. Just the way my brain works, I guess. And Austin, how's it going? So, Austin, I gotta say, thank you for providing links earlier. A few of those things were definitely topics I already had on mind, and a few of them are things I did not consider. But perhaps more importantly, you added a great piece of context to one I was already going to talk about. But yeah, you I don't know if it was coincidence or not, but you included a perfect second link that just nails it so well. And we'll actually get to that in a moment. Oh, we have a green screen issue. And if I do that, is that going to fix it? It kind of does, but way too bright on me. Maybe I just need to turn that down a smidge. How about that? Hey, that works. Also, I forgot to bring up my webcam settings, so slight tweak. That should, yeah, it's really minor, but kind of fixes a few little things. All right, we are rocking and rolling with this. So, I'll just jump right into it. May as well, right? Let's see. So, first topic, Google. Of course, it almost always is. Actually, this is a surprising. Wait, is there even a single Apple topic? There isn't. I don't see any Apple topics. Wow. This is that moment where I think what I need is the Titanic lady saying it's been 84 years or however many years it was. Yeah, I just need that for the I need that to pop up right now. Anyway, so Google, they're continuing this trend of laying off people. At this stage, you would almost think this is the behavior of a company that is hemorrhaging money. Normally, they're the companies that have to say, oh no, we can't afford our current employees. We have to let some go. And when that happens, people understand it. When a company making money hand over fist is like, we can't afford the staff that we have. It's just so expensive for us. Yet they're still reporting really, really crazy profits. Not the easiest thing to explain. But nevertheless, Google has laid off. Actually, reports seem to indicate about 200 people. Now, 50 of those come from the Bay Area, and there are roughly 150 spread across various other Google offices. Not even all of those are in the U.S., or at least it seems some of those aren't in the US. Nevertheless, the part that everyone is focused on is that there were layoffs in the staff that that is responsible for the development of Flutter, for the development of Dart, and for a lot of the internal tooling and development related to Python. So to some extent, honestly, I'm not that surprised by this. Look, for one, like I said, Google has been laying off people pretty frequently over the last, 2 years now. It's just kind of become their thing. They're just dropping their numbers really, really fast. But to be laying off from these particular groups, okay, let me start by focusing on Python. Python is one of those languages that's been around for a long time. The group that they laid people off from, as far as I'm aware, has more to do with internal tooling and like tool development. The thing is, when you're talking about a language that's been around as long as Python has, how much do you need more tool development? I'm not saying that you don't need it. I'm just questioning, do you need a lot of it? And Google laid off some number of people, but it's not like they got rid of the entire team, which raises the question to me, is it possible that they just recognized that the group wasn't doing huge amounts for them anymore? It's hard to say. And very notably, Google itself and several people who are involved in these teams have noted apparently the layoffs hit these teams and many other teams all kind of equally. So it sounds like they were probably just doing more of a number cut than targeting these groups, which makes a lot of these reports and headlines a little iffy. Yeah, Austin, I was about to get to that. But yeah, that is perfect. Thank you actually for bringing that up, because I didn't have like an exact quote, but I've heard this actually for a while. Look, Flutter was one of those. Flutter. Okay. Flutter and Dart kind of go together. You know this, obviously, and anyone listening to this may already have a sense of this, but Flutter and Dart kind of go together very, very closely. So Dart is the programming language, in essence. It would be comparable to Java, C#, JavaScript to some extent. It has been widely used in Google's backend for tons and tons of stuff. And purportedly, it's what they use for a lot of their web-based interfaces. So if I remember correctly, and I might have this wrong, I believe just about all of their major services were being developed in Dart as of like 2010 and on. Or at least starting in 2010 maybe. But yeah, Dart's been around for a long time now. And it's been used for some of the further development of services like Gmail. It's been extensively used for things like Google Keep. I would assume it's fairly extensively used probably for Google Search, at least some portions of it. Basically, it's a programming language. And it was designed to be kind of on the flexible side in terms of you could use it for somewhat lower level memory management, not actual low level memory management, but you've got a little bit of control over it. And more importantly, it's also fairly easy to manage variable types. It's not as strictly typed as some other languages. Anyway, so Flutter is basically the UI layer that lives, or that you can build on top of Dart. So Flutter would be useful for making Windows apps, Mac OS apps, mobile apps, so on and so forth. And you would build Flutter apps in using Dart as the language. So, yeah, this gets us into the aspect that is kind of messy. Flutter has been around for years. It was kind of being thought of as maybe the next big target for Google to sort of push developers to, because of course it is sort of convenient for building mobile apps that would work on both Android and iOS. They started building a lot of apps to run on smart displays, like the one I have right next to me. They've used Flutter for all kinds of projects. Here's the catch. It has really not caught on that well. I mean, it has caught on. There was, for I would say about a 2.5-3 year stretch, Flutter was the language so many people kept pointing to and saying, like, this is the future. But it has dwindled back. At least last time I saw a report on it, Flutter was losing popularity again. It's not that it was bad, it's just it was not holding developer attention the same way that it used to. So basically at this point, it's kind of not surprising that maybe Google's attention might be slipping back away from Flutter again. The fact that the idea that their attention would be slipping away from Dart, harder to believe. A lot harder to believe. Though, at the same time, Kotlin has been making huge traction inside of Google. So, I could see maybe there's an internal shift where their efforts might be to start directing developers to write in Kotlin as opposed to writing in Flutter. Or sorry, as opposed to writing in Dart. And if that's the case, and I don't have any reason to think it is, anybody that I've talked to in recent history hasn't mentioned anything of this kind. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Google wants to stop supporting dozens of languages. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff written in Python, much of which probably doesn't have a reason to be. They have huge amounts of stuff written in Dart, which, again, popular, but not as popular. You've got, obviously, the efforts going towards Flutter, which were going well, but seem to have backed off. Austin, even 3 years ago, Flutter was huge. Last year, they lost their last Flutter founder to Apple. Yeah, and which, okay, I didn't remember that. I think I did know it at the time. I might be wrong. But the thing about that, and I think this is also worth calling out, Google has a history of when the founder or when a project lead, who is sort of the main name behind a thing, whenever that person goes away, their projects tend to die too. I mean, the most prolific example of this is, of course, Google+. But there are a lot. It's one of those things where if you don't have somebody advocating, if you don't have somebody who's sort of the holy father of a project, that project's usually not long for this world. And yeah, so I could kind of see maybe this is sort of end of days for Flutter. And as you brought up earlier, one of the Flutter engineers said that it's been in maintenance mode. And if it's in a constant state of imminent death, which is a hell of a quote, that's not the sort of thing that you want to keep supporting. Or rather, sorry, let me phrase it differently. That's a condition that you should probably not be dedicating company resources to at all, or you should dedicate more to them. Basically, it's a, drop your deuce or get off the pot. So, Either kill it or keep it, but don't try to live in between. And for all the companies that have invested in Flutter development, which there are a lot, that's kind of the really ugly part of this. There are a lot. You should probably just make a decision and either announce that, hey, we're gonna kind of end this one. Start working on your migration plans now, and we'll keep it in survival for the next 4 or 5 years or whatever. But after that, good effing luck. Which sucks to say, but it's kind of where these projects should be. Curvy, no Corbin today. He is in 10,000 BC, which, hey, that is a choice. I did not pick it for him. But regardless, yeah, I don't, again, all these reports were kind of dishonest. They didn't really cover the fact, I just realized I forgot to resize this window. All these reports did focus too heavily on the, wait, is that, okay, maybe I wanted it at that size. It does line up. Okay, well, whatever. All of these reports focus way too much on the fact that that this affected those teams and not the various others that did in fact lose people. So the reporting may be misdirected, but I have a feeling that the teams that lost people, probably when you start looking at them as a whole, there probably is a little bit of a bigger picture here. We just, without knowing what other teams lost people, I don't think we know enough. And Austin with a link to a post saying Google needs to have a more formalized process for killing products. I mean, I don't disagree. I think this is something that we've all been saying for a long time. I mean, they've always been pretty good about sort of announcing, hey, here's a thing that we're going to kill. Or sorry, they weren't always good at this, but fairly early on, they got good at pre-announcing, here's a thing. What in the world? Okay. I just saw the strangest ad, and I do not even want to, I'm not going to click on it to find out more, but it really is weird. Anyway, so they used to be really good at announcing, here's a set of things that we're going to end at a certain point in time. And they usually, their end dates would be a year or more out. They typically gave really good announcements. They made it very clear that things were going to be ending. More recently, stuff gets killed kind of in under a year. Sometimes it's things that don't make sense to kill. And yeah, it's not always a great method of announcing things. Plus, while Stadia was a pleasant exception to the rule, Google doesn't have the best history when it comes to sort of like, oh, people have spent money on this. People have committed time and development resources to this thing or whatever, and they kill a thing, which then ruins the work of all the people who are involved in it. So yeah, there's some problematic project slashes, let's say. Anyway, and I don't know if this article dives into that subject, but yeah. So Austin, now here's the link that I feel like these were meant to go together, and I'm here for it. Google's stock surges after they buy back billions of dollars worth. Which, I mean, look, firing a few people, not really going to make any difference to your stock. It's not going to save you a whole lot of money, but the fact that they've been firing people by the many dozens at a time, over and over repeatedly, I can't help but think that a lot of this is probably aimed at big stock buyback projects. And that's kind of been the narrative. Lately, a lot of companies have been doing big stock buybacks. And when I say lately, I mean really, the big stock buybacks started right around the same time that companies did the whole, we need to divest ourselves of excess manpower. So they just keep firing people, then they do a big stock buyback. They fire some more people, do a big stock buyback. Every time that they do it, they fire people, they might sell some stock after they fire some people. And then when the stock goes back down for some reason, then they'll do another buyback. Sometimes they do the buybacks right before they fire people. That way their stock goes sky high. And then, lo and behold, I'm sure they're selling stock back. At this stage, I think we're basically in a cycle where companies are just manipulating the stock market for the sake of easy profit. Which isn't exactly new, but it is also pretty illegal. Yeah. So I wouldn't mind the SEC maybe poking its nose into this sort of stuff. So, beyond that, Sundar Pichai also tried to say that the recent boost in stock price was owed to its successes in artificial intelligence. I'm just gonna say, okay, sure, thanks, bud. We totally buy that story. No, that's it is actually still true. Sadly, you announce something to do with AI, and half the time the market is going to be like, "Ooh, that's neat, cool. Can you share more? We really want to know more, and we'll give you money if you'll do it." That being said, funny enough, Facebook has actually had the exact opposite result. They admitted that AI wasn't really going to make them profitable anytime in the immediate future, or more profitable, at least in the immediate future. And as a result, their stocks went down a bit. So, hey, AI is apparently the hand that gives and the hand that takes away. But it is what it is. Okay, so that is that's kind of it for that story. I think so. At this point, it's kind of an old story, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I think it's probably worth quickly addressing the story from last week. ByteDance apparently doesn't want to sell TikTok if it's attempts to have the bill or that part of the bill disqualified. So basically they're going to be going through the court system trying to have the Congress's bill augmented to remove the forced divestiture or ban of TikTok if ByteDance continues to own it. So I don't know how much there necessarily is to say on this that doesn't already kind of fit within what I said in the past. But at the moment, I'm inclined to say, okay, sure. Totally believe you. Truth be told, I really think that there are a lot of different ways that ByteDance can maneuver around this. But another option occurred to me not too long ago. There is another way that ByteDance could actually work around this, and it avoids selling TikTok, but it would allow them to effectively keep operating in the US. What they could do is literally just sell the US operations of TikTok to a company that they we'll just say that they financially empower. So imagine a scenario where TikTok basically spins off into its own company inside the US, and the two companies create a cross licensing deal such that anything posted or published to the US version is shared to the Chinese version. Or to the, I'll just say the ByteDance version. That's the better, more accurate way to put it. And then likewise, anything that is posted globally to the ByteDance version could then be redirected, or not redirected, but shared with the US version. Is this a great strategy? Probably not, but it would be a very easy licensing deal to work out. It's already something that to some extent they have to do based on the music availability. It kind of just makes sense to start down that road. And would it be a little dumb? Would it be kind of annoying? Yeah, sure. But it would be workable. And it would fall within the legal requirements of the order. Welcome back, Metric Brawl. You missed the joke that I made earlier. So I'm inclined to actually say you'll just have to go back to the beginning of the stream to hear it. Anyway, so yes, it directly involves you. So I know now. That's almost clickbaity. Okay, so anyway, oh, actually, you could be sneaky and just look at the you could look at the transcription. I think that's available for live. I don't know. Anyway, hello also to well, I believe I said hi to Curvy earlier. Of course, I said hi to Austin earlier, but also hello to Carson and David. Welcome, guys. Good to have you here. So, again, I have said this repeatedly. I will continue to say this. I genuinely do not believe that ByteDance is willing to give up the US market. It has been said over and over again, but certainly by plenty of people besides myself, there is, when it comes to different markets, the US market is one of the highest value. So, is it necessarily going to be catastrophic if they lose I'm just going to ballpark roughly 100 million users in the US. It may be more or less by some amount, but it's certainly not 350 million people. Common sense tells you that there are senior citizens and children in this country who absolutely are not yet using this or will ever use this. There are plenty of people who do not use it. I believe the usage numbers are actually closer to about 100 million, maybe a few more. So, but that's still an extremely high number of users. And when you factor in how worthwhile they are to advertisers, I just truly do not believe any story that TikTok is willing to give up on that user base completely. That's not to say that they aren't willing to give up on some amount of money to keep it, but I just do not buy for a second. See, told you. So And I don't care that you put those dots in there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you got it. Anyway, so at this stage, I'm sorry, but I just do not believe that ByteDance is willing to completely walk away. At this stage, I think they're bluffing. That is the best explanation I have for it. I think ByteDance is bluffing. They want to pretend that they would go all the way to fight this, but in reality, I don't think they are. I think they will fight tooth and nail to remain in the US, remain active in the US, and continue, one, making money here, and two, if the CCP is really as involved as we believe that they are, it seems, then quite frankly, I don't think they're willing to give up on it either. So we shall see. So anyway, moving on to slightly more specific shenanigans. It's been all over the news this week. The Rabbit R1. It is a comically terrible attempt at a product. If you've read reviews of it, most of the reviews kind of come together on one basic principle. There's nothing to review. Like, it's a kind of goofy little toy device using a now old chipset. Which, okay, that, who cares? It doesn't need to be like super modern. And as it turns out, it's just running a somewhat customized version of Android under the hood, and all of the actual like stuff happening is really just an Android app. So that's it. This is just Android running an app in a custom device. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? You know, make of it what you will. First, I'm gonna make the comment that I think a lot of people miss with this sort of thing, because I've seen so many comments. Lots and lots of people keep going, "Oh my God, it's just Android." Well, sure, of course it's Android. Shouldn't it be? Should it not be? Like, does anyone expect a fully custom OS to be built just because some company wants to build a gadget? Like, no. Use Android. That's what it's there for. That's why it's open source. What moron out there is sitting down going, "Oh my God, they used Android." No, it's fine. That's why it's out there. Let companies use Android. That being said, yeah, it is just running an app. It didn't need to be on this weird little device. It could have just been an Android app. So, okay, you know, why not roll it out originally as an Android app and then come out with your custom device later? I'm not really sure what the custom device is really doing for you. And I don't know. Maybe I admit I don't know enough about the Rabbit R1 per se. That being said, I don't think anybody does. This thing has been talked about so much. It is just a goofy device. It doesn't actually do very much yet. Its whole push is it does AI. But it doesn't do very much with AI. It doesn't do things really yet. It doesn't have the access or abilities to do very many things. Like, you start piling up all the elements of this thing, and it's an expensive device. It doesn't, well, not that expensive. It's $200, but it's just a device that doesn't do much. Every reviewer has pretty much just sort of said, hey, like, maybe it's cute, maybe it's fun, but if it doesn't do anything, why is this a thing? So I'm just curious, because I've seen plenty of Android apps that don't do much. And people are pretty happy just to distribute those on the Play Store. Maybe that's what this should be. Just an app that doesn't do much that's also distributed on the Play Store. Regardless, this is the dumb thing that's out there. And of course, people have managed to extract the app from the device. They've managed to get it running on other Android devices, albeit apparently with some reduced permissions or with some capabilities not functioning. Okay, you know, that's neat and all, I guess, but if it doesn't do much, what's the point of this? That being said, I feel like this device is going to quickly cease to exist. But my prediction is the people who are behind it, we're going to hear from them again. In like 3 years, they will have another dumb project. It will follow it will be chasing another fad. And we're just going to keep hearing hearing about this thing and these people for however long they can keep tricking investors into giving them money. I mean, that's what happened with Kurt McMaster. For anyone who doesn't remember that name, that was that was one of the guys who was involved in Cyanogen mod. It was, and he was more one of the like business, you know, let's see if we can get investors type of people rather than the developers. It's happened with Carl Pei, except arguably at least Carl Pei's been reasonably successful, or well, moderately successful. And there have been many other names, but you get the idea. Like I feel like this device managed to get a lot of news attention for a thing that basically does nothing. So give it, let's say, I don't know, 6 months for this thing to fully wrap up its failure. And then, you know, another 1.5 to 2 years after that, you could see nothing buying them. I actually could too. That really fits. But yeah, I would almost bet anything we're going to hear, like there are going to be headlines in 2 years saying, remember the Rabbit R1? The developers are now making blank. Or, you know, headlines like that. Or, you know, the old Rabbit R1 team is now building, I don't know, a drone. Or, I don't know. Again, I think they're going to chase fads. So, you know, we went from crypto to AI. What comes after AI? Whatever it is, that's what this team is going to be doing. Or maybe it'll just be a new twist on what AI is. We'll see. Let's see. So, jumping up on comments earlier. Metric Brawl, personally think $200 US for an AI is a scam. Rather buy a Windows Vista laptop. To be fair, you are somewhat obsessed with strange old hardware, so that kind of fits. Also, I'm starting to wonder if I just put really old versions of Windows on things, could I get you to buy them? Not criticizing, I'm not making fun. I'm genuinely curious. I need money. David, let's see. I feel like it probably wouldn't be able to do some of the stuff it does if it were in the Android ecosystem, like with permissions and stuff. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. There are certain things that it wouldn't be able to do. However, big however energy on this one. It would be able to do a lot of things. And so that's kind of the push you could do. So you get your product out there as an app, you get attention on it for if it actually does things and works, you get attention on your app. And then you turn around and say, hey, there are things that we can't do in the app, but we now have this user base of people who really love our app. Again, it has to actually do something, which is the part that it doesn't do yet. But then once you've got people hooked on the app, you can then transition people into buying the device that gives them those permissions, that gives them the ability to do more stuff. And maybe you succeed, maybe you fail. Either way, you've got the app presumably holding people for you. Whereas building this device that right now does almost nothing, so no one's going to buy this. I mean, honestly, I don't know how many they've sold or pre-sold or whatever, but realistically, like, they're going to sell these kind of like Pebble managed to sell watches at first. There's going to be a niche group of people who's super into it, and after those pre-sales are over, nothing. It's gonna just get buried. And in Pebble's case, at least they had a product that did something, so they managed to kind of reclaim that audience again when they came out with later editions of their watches. With Rabbit, they have to actually make this thing do something, and by the time it does, will there be any media attention on this? I just don't think there will be. So, this just feels like a product that is a flash in the pan news item, but by the time it comes to presumably doing something, or by the time they need to come up with money to keep this thing going, like, it's just gonna be dead in the water. So that's the way I'm seeing it now. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Brawl, can you run the Rabbit R1 app on your iPhone 4S? Well, seeing as it doesn't actually perform any AI really on the device, or very, very minimally, and people have actually managed to get Android kind of running on the 4S, then the answer is actually yes, you probably could. Actually, oh wait, no, sorry, you can't. The 4S was 32-bit only. This app almost guaranteed has to be 64-bit only. So no, I take it back. You could not run this app on there. But if not for that, it might actually be possible. So let's see. Austin had said could see nothing buying them. 50% of that was teenage engineering. Yeah. Brawl, if you sell me a Windows Vista laptop that can run Windows Aero for a good price, you'll get yourself some Romanian currency. Wonder what that exchange rate's like. What message did I just get? Oh, is this nothing? Okay. Yeah, okay. Cool. Just making sure that isn't something critical. Oh, wait, was it? Maybe I was looking at the wrong thing. Oh. Okay. Now I see what it was. Not worth the attention. Okay, sorry. Hello, Carlos. How's it going? As I often point out, just as a heads up, there will be no gaming tonight. This is a podcast show. But if you'd like to stick around, I will be babbling for, I don't know how long, but a little while longer. Let's see. So, Austin, it doesn't know your location. Really? Does the R1 not have GPS? Because I never checked on everything it does and doesn't do. But if it doesn't know your location, that seems like a big oversight. Also, why does it have such terrible battery life if it doesn't have GPS in it? Everything about this thing is just not good. Let's see. Metric Brawl. No one tried, so could it be 32-bit compatible too? I suppose the app could be 32 compatible, but I would bet not. Because if they're building it for just this one device, there's really no reason to build a binary that's, but they're definitely not building a binary for both architectures. So okay, kidding or not, I may as well answer, like, they definitely would not have built a binary for both architectures. At least not including it on the device. Like, maybe they could have built it, but yeah, they I can pretty much guarantee logically they would have only built it for one architecture, and that's all they would have included. So yeah, if assuming it's not universal. Okay, anyway, let's see. So Austin, that's an MKBHD joke. It claims not to know location, but it somehow predicts your location. Ah, got it. Okay. So yeah, anyway, I just don't see this device being important. Same with the human AI pin, like, or humane, whatever it is. That thing, they don't do much of anything, and they're bad at it when they do. So stuff like this will eventually matter. It will eventually exist, and it will eventually be products. But these two are a joke. They're just trying to scam people out of money for right now. Brawl, yes, it is the overheating junk. Glad you've heard of it. Brawl, if you get Android running on your 4S before you find a buyer, you'll test it. You probably shouldn't, because unless you know how to get iOS back on there in a clean way, which actually probably isn't that hard. But yeah, you probably shouldn't mess with this unless you know for sure you can get the 4S back to semi-original form. So yeah. Anyway, well, let's move on to the subject of junk hardware. Here's a transition that's going to be spicy. Some junk hardware that does things poorly, but this one's successful. Let's talk about Roku. How many enemies did I just make? Okay, so yeah, big transition here. Roku, who I talked about Roku a few weeks back because Roku was apparently filing for a patent on the idea of showing ads on TVs if they could identify that nothing else was happening on the TV. So that was the thing from a few weeks ago. Now, the CEO of Roku, Anthony Wood, has just come right out and said, yep, they're going to start sticking video ads in the home screen. Now look, this is not a new concept. It's not even really that far out there. This is something that Google TV does, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. But for the most part, I can ignore it, so, you know, so it goes. So, and it's funny, I'm actually not going to talk a whole ton about the actual implementation or choices here, but we'll get to that. So the basic super short version of this article is, while he was on an earnings call, he basically discussed, yeah, we're going to start sticking a video ad right on the home screen. This will be the first thing that people see when they start up the device. It will be right there pretty much all the time, and so on and so forth. Now, they've already had an ad on this screen. But previously it was a static ad. Now they're going to move to video. And rumor has it that, or the theory is it's probably going to be a silent video, that one, I assume you could probably click something to get sound. But more to the point, still, it's going to be more distracting. It's going to be kind of obnoxious. All ads already are, but you move them from being static ads to video ads, and they are more intrusive, more annoying, more obnoxious. Anyway, so in the course of this call, Anthony Wood basically revealed that Roku was their, let's see, average revenue per user, their ARPU, dropped by, it was about let's see, $2. Yeah, about $2. Oh wait, no, sorry, a little over $1, just a little over $1 in the last was that year, Q3 of 2023, and so in the last quarter, sorry. So Roku is just becoming telly. Yes, they are. That is, you actually kind of beat me to that. I was going to make that as a joke. But yeah, that's exactly what Roku's aiming to do. Is as they see it, they have 81 million people, or 81 million users, which, by the way, this whole thing of 81 million active users, it's no, there are tons of people or tons of households that have multiple Rokus. You're assuming that each of those is a different household. It's not, guys, come on, grow up. But anyway, so yeah, they're saying that they've got 81 million households, and they're not happy standing still. They want to make more money off of each user. And hey, this is what companies do. I understand that. I'm not even against the notion of trying to make more money off of your users. I think every company should do that. Austin, where's your free TV? Yeah, Telly never got back to me either. And based on what I know, somebody who has one, based on what he said, yeah, I'm actually okay not having it. I wasn't going to use it really anyway. I had other ideas in mind for how to use it that would have definitely made me not their ideal user. So, oh, weird. I just saw some weird activity on my, but no drop frames. Okay. No warnings in the console either. All right, whatever. So yeah, anyway, the notion of trying to make more money off of each user, totally get it. Not really against that idea, but I don't think that the right way to do it is by shoving more ads in people's faces. I think that is a mistake. And doing it that way, this particular way, is kind of gross. As was the idea that was floated via that patent that, they wanted to monitor what your TV was doing and be like, oh, hey, nothing's happened in the last minute. Let's just start showing ads just because. They're still in beta. I mean, Telly's never going to leave beta. Anyway, so at this stage, obviously the big theory crafting on this is how many people, if Roku moves to video ads, how many people are going to look at this and say, yeah, this was a step too far. I don't want to use my Roku anymore. I'm going to switch away. And how many people are just going to be like, all right, well, it's just another annoyance. They're doing it because a majority of Americans are cord cutters. Well, yeah. Americans have been cutting cords for years. That doesn't really change anything, though. What it does in my mind is it just means that, hey, they don't want to pay for one subscription, they want to pay for a different subscription, because that's what it's become. And yes, Amazon does it on Fire TV, though to be fair, Fire TV is more intrusive. At least so far it seems to be. I have a feeling Roku's is going to aim to be there, but we'll see. The thing about Fire TV, though, is, and I say this, I know that this is kind of a weird take on it, but I feel like with Amazon, you know what you're getting. You're signing up to be advertised to. Amazon does not make any bones about, like, we're going to show you ads. Like, sorry if you don't like it. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. That is Amazon's way. So you know what you're getting. Like, you definitely signed up to be advertised to if you're going the Amazon route. Whereas I think most people that bought Roku's, they never saw this coming. They never asked for this. They never wanted ads on their home screen. I would say the same thing is mostly true of Google TV. All that being said, look, I have more to say on this, but I'm going to interject the personal aspect here really deeply. Look, my Shield, I obviously see video ads on there from time to time. It's, you know, it's technically Android TV, but kind of Google TV at this point is basically sort of a weird hybrid between the two. Anyway, look, sometimes there are video ads. They're there. I don't really mind them most of the time, though every once in a while they're kind of cringy. But and they're not ads, they're advertising other content. So it's, you know, still an advertisement for a movie, or it's advertising like Apple TV Plus. It can advertise that stuff. And so at least it's relevant and makes sense why it's advertising on there. Even if it wasn't that stuff, even if it was ads for like detergents or whatever, for the most part, like, I'm going to, as long as it doesn't play sound, I can mostly ignore that. Do I like it? No. But I can, you know, I can sort of shrug and just move along. What I worry about is how long before it becomes more. Because there will come a tipping point. I don't question it for a second. I think it's inevitable. There will be a tipping point. There will come a point where I look at what's going on and I say, you know what? No, I'm done. I'm done here. I cannot. I just have no interest in seeing more of this ad or that ad. So now here's where it gets fun. I think we're seeing the first real tangible steps to what is probably going to be the next stage of, or the next sort of XMBC. Is that the right letters? XBMC. Which, for those that don't know, XBMC was Xbox Media Center. It was software that was designed to run on an Xbox many years ago that basically was a let's turn the Xbox into a cool media player and not have ads, not have this, not have that, or rather at the time doing those things wasn't really much of a consideration anyway. But XBMC was a big sea change in that a lot of people saw it and said, yep, this is something I need to do. And it's, for those that don't know, it really basically led to the creation of a few other things, not least of which was Plex. And it kind of spawned the real effort towards making it sort of spawned the effort that turned into what streaming boxes are today. Now, that being said, how long until we get the next one of those? The time is, I think, starting to be on the horizon, because the more ads that get shoved in our face, the more we lose control over the interface that we use to watch TV, the more people are going to get frustrated, and the more likely they are to say, you know what? No, you jumped the shark. We're past it. We just want a good experience. We want to get to our couch and just tune out the ads. We just want to lay down and not have a video ad show up. We want to lay down and not have promotions for detergents and whatever else. We just want to chill out and watch the movie that we paid for, or the streaming service that we're subscribed to, or whatever. We just want that. We don't want the rest. That day is coming. Probably not super soon, but it's coming. And when it does, I think stuff like what Roku's doing here is going to very quickly drive people away to whatever comes to replace it. So yeah, that's kind of my theory on this. But in a related story, which may as well highlight this. Oh, actually, before we get to that, looking back over to comments, Curvy had said they're doing it because... Oh, yeah, okay, I saw that. Amazon does it on Fire TV. That's why you switch back to the Chromecast with Google TV, hoping the 2024 model comes at I/O this month. Yeah, I do wonder about that. Google TV has peaked Google's algorithm and AdSense at play. Yeah, it is. The thing is, I think they still do it. I think they still do Google TV mostly responsibly. I'm not confident that that'll remain true, but at least for now, it feels like Google is handling Google TV without trying to optimize the financial aspect. They're not. It seems like they're not trying to make every possible dollar off of selling people Google TVs yet. I mean, they very obviously aren't pushing that hard. Like, you're not loading up an interface that is 50% ad. I mean, in a way it kind of is, but because of the nature of the product, but the nature of the product is what we're asking for. If the day ever comes up that I turn on my screen and the first thing Google TV does is say, oh, hey, we recognize that you're into, let's say, action cameras, and they immediately show me an ad for a GoPro, and I'm like, well, that's cute and all, but I just wanted to turn on Last Week Tonight. Look, let me just go to the HBO app, or I've got a show I'm watching. Like, I don't want to see this ad. I just want to sit down and watch, I want to watch, let's see, what am I watching? I don't know. I just want to watch some Young Sheldon or something. Like, the moment that happens, if I am sitting there trying to get past an ad so I can go watch the thing that's already there, nah, you lost me. Like, I'm out. I will find something else. Let's see. Austin, I think they're going to have a September Nest launch this year. Yeah. And actually, I agree. I think if there is a new Google TV lined up, I don't see it coming at I/O. It's not that they don't launch hardware at I/O, but I think I/O is going to be the Pixel 8a, and then they're going to wait for the Made by Google event this fall, and that'll be the new Pixel, that'll be the new Google TV, so on and so forth, or Chromecast with Google TV. That I think is when we're going to see it. But you never know. Maybe they'll do it at I/O. Let's see. Metric Brawl doing the random hardware hunts. Interesting. Okay, anyway, so on a related tangent, there's not a whole lot of detail here, but it's, it's something that we all kind of knew was on the way. YouTube is apparently experimenting with, and has previously tried, showing ads while videos are paused. So this, I think, goes kind of in that same sort of gross territory of, look, you're pushing too hard. You're getting too thirsty. If you're trying to shove ads into every corner of the interface, this is not okay. By the way, pretty much all the links that, or all of the discussions and links that I've covered so far they're already in the Discord. Austin provided most of them earlier. I replaced a couple of the links I already had open with his. But anything that's not in Discord, I'll try to share to YouTube chat. Anyway, this really stood out to me as hey, we do have, we're looking at YouTube possibly getting more infused with ads, and I kind of hate this idea. Now, I'm assuming YouTube Premium would not allow this to happen. If you pay for Premium, you shouldn't get these paused ads. Hardware hunts on the Romanian secondhand market can lead to gold. Nice. Who knows? Very possibly literally lead to gold. Gold was actually used in a lot of old parts. Anyway, yeah, I do kind of wonder. Well, the thing that when I read this, like first immediate thought was kind of revulsion at the idea of just having ads shoved into every conceivable corner of the interface. But the second thought that I had, who's getting this money? So if somebody is watching a video and then they pause it and then get ads, who gets paid for that? Is it because I mean, look, if let's say it's my channel, or one that's monetized. If it's a monetized channel, they posted the video, they got somebody there, and then somebody paused that video. They're still on the channel, they're still present. And the nature of that ad could impact how people feel about the video that they were watching. I'm sorry, but should not the channel owner get some of the revenue off those paused videos? Which is also a funny notion, because I can totally picture a lot of people saying, hey, if you'd like to support this video, hit pause. Which would be such a hilarious concept. But yeah, I'd like to know what the strategy is here, and if YouTube is just planning on holding on to this money, or if it's going to get shared with the people whose videos got viewers onto the site and kept people onto the site. But seriously, I also just desperately really want to see YouTubers straight up saying, if you want to support me, hit pause. Please make this happen, because it's so stupid. Okay. But yeah. So let's see. Brawl found a black MacBook because they're kind of rare. That's, yeah. I mean, yeah, it is interesting. They haven't made those in a long, long time. So anyway, ad block is still going strong for you. Yeah, I'm willing to pay for premium. It's one of the very few things that I subscribe to. And with how many YouTube videos that I either watch or have to watch for work purposes, and it is the only music that I get to my car, so on and so forth. Like, it's pretty worth it. Certainly more so than paying for multiple other services. And anyway, kind of closing out this thread of subjects, may as well talk about it. And this is a TV device, kind of like a Roku, so, tangentially related, but I could also see this possibly becoming a major ad service kind of scheme. Not scam, but scheme. But Walmart is about to launch what is effectively a Pro on device. So this is something everyone's been talking about today. It kind of hit big. Look, Walmart launched a few years ago an on TV 4K and an on TV, I think that was the names. And they were streaming devices that were honestly pretty good. Like, they were a lot better than I think most people expected them to be. They were basically slightly superior versions, or well, the on 4K was a slightly superior version of the Chromecast with Google TV, but of course didn't have all of Google's features readily available on it. It was cheaper, or at least some of the stuff was cheaper. Oh, that's what that message was. Okay. Oh no, that's the last 14 minutes. Oh gee, okay. Saw something else. Okay. Anyway. Brawl. Opportunity to call them TV on. Well, on the ONN is Walmart's weird custom brand, which is a terrible name, but they still do it. Carson's still rocking the YouTube Premium student discount post-grad. Cheers to that. Hold on to all those student discounts as long as you can. Hey, even if it means getting it one of those junk email addresses that's a student address. Oh, you know about the brand because you watch LTT? Okay. Anyway, so they're making a new model, an updated model, and cheers to this. I think it's actually a pretty good idea. They may as well. This one is going to be, I'm sure, kind of a junk speaker, but it has a speaker built in. It is also this streaming device, exactly like you expect it to be. And that's basically it. Like, they're merging together multiple things. It's going to support more things. It has an Ethernet port, USB 3, which I'm not sure, but I'm assuming could be used for external storage devices. It, of course, has HDMI out. And again, it's a speaker. So, yay. I think this is a good device. Walmart should be selling it. The same concern that I had before, and I will still hold to it today, is it's Walmart. Walmart did really good with the previous on devices. I'm genuinely surprised. As far as I'm aware, and admittedly I didn't keep using my on device too long after doing the review of it. I did for a while, intermittently, but it wasn't super useful to me. But the thing is, they never really, to my knowledge, they never really jammed it full of ads. I don't believe that they ever started spying on users, though. Could be wrong. But all said and done, that's kind of the ideal experience. And Walmart handled it really well. I don't have faith that that's going to remain true. I think one of these days they are going to be like, okay, cool. Now we've rolled out enough on devices. let's start giving them ads. Let's start giving them this thing or that thing. So I think that day is coming, but in the meantime, like, look, this is looking like a pretty good device. So I think it's probably what I would actually direct a lot of people to consider rather than a Roku. Unless people like specifically want Rokus. So also, as The Verge notes, and I'll share this link too, just because I think this wasn't in Austin's link drop. But this reviewer, Superdell, I don't know who this person is, but I am assuming he's a YouTube reviewer. He found some of these on Walmart shelves already, so it seems safe to assume they're ready to sell these now. So, yay. I think if you're really inclined to go play with it right away, check your local Walmarts. Let's see. So, quickly skimming over comments. Yeah, why not USB 1.1? David, I feel like this should be the way to go. I feel like the last one was too cheap. So I don't know if there were any between the generation I reviewed and this one. I would have sworn I remember hearing about something, but maybe I'm wrong. So in the generation I reviewed, there were two of them. There was the on TV and the on TV 4K. The 4K was a really good device. The regular on was too low spec. It was only supposed to go up to 1080p, but the specs were not good for it. So I would argue that one was too cheap. The on 4K was maybe cutting corners just a little bit, but not enough to make it bad. It was just so that it wasn't necessarily as future-proof as it could have been. But seeing as Android TV, Google TV haven't really become that, like, they haven't really gotten so bloated or heavyweight as to be problematic. It's not like Android itself, where frankly over time it's bound to slow down because they add a lot of stuff to it. The TV side really has stayed very power efficient for the most part. So I don't think that the future proofing was, or the lack of future proofing was really too detrimental to the 4K, the on 4K. Whereas Chromecast with Google TV notoriously has had lots of problems due to very low storage space and some other poor decisions. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some different aspects to consider, but for the most part, I think the on 4K was really, really excellent for its price. If it doesn't come with a DVD drive, don't want it. Brawl, that does sound about right. And 4K is overrated. CRTs for life. Look, first off, I will say, yes, 4K actually is overrated, but screw CRTs, never again. Low storage space is what your PC is suffering from. Everything suffers from low storage space, in my opinion. Okay, so let's see. The last topic that Austin suggested, and I'm open to others, but I don't know what else to cover. I looked through news. I really looked through news this week, and there was not a lot of interesting stuff. But anyway, so actually, and to be fair, I don't know what to say on this one, but I'm going to try. So this particular piece of news has been covered in a few different places and ways, but fundamentally what's happened is in the Android common kernel, Um, even explaining that in more detail feels kind of hard to do well. But Google has removed Risk 5 support from the Android common kernel, which is a bit concerning. It's unclear why they've done this. They basically said that it was because they could not offer a universal support for RISC-V in the kernel so that it would work with all manufacturers and vendors of RISC-V. That's kind of a poor explanation. Because frankly, the instruction set, while obviously there are some aspects of it that aren't going to be universal, the fact of the matter is it's not the sort of thing that you need to necessarily support each and every iteration. Rather, you just need to have something that can universally be compatible with it. So, the best way to say this is, as long as a chip is compatible with RISC-V, the core instruction set of RISC-V, it doesn't matter whether or not it supports extensions. You just need to be able to run on RISC-V. That should be the standard for the Android common kernel. Anyway, so setting aside the excuse or rationale that they gave, this does not look great for RISC-V support in the long run, or at least in the short run. And there are different theories about why this may be, a lot of which has to do with China and the fact that China has been heavily pushing RISC-V development. And of course, some of the theories suggest that maybe what's happening here is Google is in a bit of a technology war with China. Some of this may be fed by US strategies as well. But basically the idea being, maybe they pulled RISC-V support because it would be too helpful for China. That's certainly a possibility. I'm not going to say I agree or disagree to that. I don't know. But what stands out to me is it's a messy situation. There are companies that have been sort of looking at Google as one of the bigger names in RISC-V support. I wish I could remember the name of it, but there was a company that okay, the best way that I have to start explaining this is there's this company that is currently at least partially led by the guy who created the Swift programming language for Apple. This guy, and sorry, his name is blanking on me right now. If I heard it, I would immediately know it. But he developed the Swift programming language at Apple. Later, he moved to Tesla to work on some of their self-driving initiatives. And when he and Elon apparently had a very extreme falling out, the details of which are not entirely public, he ended up working with this company that is building RISC-V, or they're working on designing RISC-V customization architectures. That, I think that's the best way to describe it. Anyway, apparently they were working pretty closely with Google for a while, in large part because Google was getting so deep into RISC-V, was pushing along a lot of the initiatives to develop it further, and they were funding a lot of it. The idea that they're pulling RISC-V support from the Android common kernel kind of raises the question, how committed is Google to this initiative still? Do they care about pushing RISC-V further? Is this possibly a thing where they just don't care about doing this on the mobile level? Because let's be honest, Android at this stage is mostly a mobile OS. It's not really used on servers a whole lot, which is, by the way, where Risk 5 currently seems to be getting a lot more of its financial push, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because for a while everyone saw Risk 5 as probably growing up through like the embedded devices realm. But there's a company right now that their whole thing is they will let you set up a server on Risk 5 chips. So the server space seems to be making a big jump forward with Risk 5, where the embedded space kind of is lagging. I won't say that embedded is stagnating yet, but it doesn't seem as motivated as it once was. That being said, maybe Google's strategy is to focus on the server side of Risk 5 first, and then start moving in the opposite direction. Maybe their concerns are a little bit more about whether or not Risk 5 can offer them enough for, let's say, AI purposes, because obviously that is the big financial push at the moment. I don't know. There are a lot of angles to consider for this, and it's hard to really track it all down, but at the end of the day, I don't worry too much about this, but a little bit. I do think that Android should probably be pushing Risk 5 forward as well. It should be at least part of the common kernel, just because at that stage you can keep developing Risk 5 support, even if it lags behind. Maybe it's not as performant or optimized. As long as it works, you've got reason to keep going. I do also wonder if maybe this is tied to the earlier story from before, where Google is laying off people from various teams. I do kind of wonder if maybe one of the teams that got hit was the team that was responsible for Risk 5, or at least Risk 5 in Android. Because if they cut those people, and that's no longer going to be a supported thing, it does make a lot of sense just to say, all right, we're just going to pull it from the common kernel for now, and someday, maybe, hopefully, we'll bring it back. In the meantime, we're just going to take it out of the picture. I don't know if that's the case. And Google is being pretty cagey about the responses here. Even in the article, it made a point of saying that, let's see. Yeah, so very notably also, it wasn't until November of last year that Google weighed in with the announcement that Risk 5 would be treated as a first-class target. It's wild to think that 6 months later, and Google's like, yeah, no, never mind, forget we said anything. It's not real. That's a pretty quick turnaround for a company. Now, all this being said, also, Google did say that just because they...
But I found these results on...
Stop.
The mic's off.
Okay. Just because Google is cutting it from the common kernel, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's been cut for Android, because, well, Android may be... support for Risk 5 might still actually just be a thing that they're developing kind of behind the scenes, and it may pop up at some future stage. Again, don't know. And all Google has really said is, due to the rapid rate of iteration, we are not ready to provide a single supported image for all vendors. That doesn't help. That doesn't say anything of value. So, yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I'd like to have not seen them do this, but I don't know that it necessarily means anything that detrimental. David saying cutting back for those H100 chips. Seems about right. Not that I know what that means, but all right. Anyway, so let's see. Again, I kind of wasn't sure if there would be other topics, but it seems that nothing else has come up. So let's see. A few updates really quick. I mentioned it before that I will be heading up to Portland sometime in the near future. While there's nothing concrete yet, what I'm looking at doing is probably doing that next week, very likely right after the stream. Again, not concrete yet, but I'm pretty sure there will be a RambleCast next week, which means that basically the Apple announcement will have happened. We'll talk about it on stream, and then somewhere very shortly after that, I will hop in my car and drive up. Now, as far as gaming plan or any streaming plans, gaming this weekend should still be a thing. Again, the RambleCast stream next week should still be a thing. After that, the place that I'm going to be staying in Portland, at least I'm told, has really, really crappy internet, or at least pretty unreliable internet. So I'm not betting on being able to stream. In fact, odds are probably very low that I'll be able to stream. How long I will be up there is not technically clear yet, but we will see. So IO stream. Let's see. What was the date on Google I/O? I know that I've seen it like a dozen times. Oh crap! That is. I forgot about that. I don't know. I kept thinking I for some reason I had it in my head IO was going to be like the 22nd. I don't know why I was thinking that. I might have to reconsider this. We shall see. Why am I going to Portland? So it's for personal reasons. The shortest answer that covers the details but doesn't give too much away. A friend of mine is going through some personal stuff, so I'm going up just to keep her company and stuff like that. So yeah, that is basically the whole plan. Something flying around again. Anyway, so yeah, Cryptic Cody. So curvy, yeah, I figured. Okay, so yeah, I might have to, maybe I will try to figure out something for IO. When was the last time I've been to Portland? It was before it's been a few years. Not super long, but it's been a few years. So yeah, been a while, but not like crazy long. Why do you ask? And let's see, while I'm up in Portland, I do have a couple of project ideas that I'm going to see about doing. Maybe there will be some YouTube videos coming out of this. At least that's the hope. Assuming I'm not too occupied, which the way things are shaping up, probably not going to be a problem. It sounds like I'm actually going to have a fair amount of time to get some work done and do some side projects. We'll see. Anyway, also, I'm not completely sure yet if I have to rule out RambleCast streams. Now, I think gaming streams are almost certainly not going to happen. The reason being that I think the data rates that are necessary to maintain a good game stream, both for streaming it and for being able to play it at a reasonable ping, I think that is going to be unrealistic if what I've heard about the internet connection is correct. But it is possible the RambleCast streams might be doable. Let's see. You're wondering if it's worth visiting as a tourist to Portland, or is Seattle better? Oh wow, that's. Let me come back to that in a second. Okay. So as far as it goes, I think while I'm in Portland, like I said, I think game streams are probably going to be out. Just because I don't think I'm going to get a good enough internet connection to be able to play the game decently while also streaming to YouTube. RambleCasts, I will try. I don't know for sure that it will work, but I will try. And for other reasons, I know I'll be bringing my equipment with me anyway, so at least, I'll be bringing the mic, and there's no reason not to pack the webcam and the green screen. Like, these things take hardly any space. They're easy enough to carry, so I'll have everything with me anyway. So yeah, I will try to do RambleCasts, but I do not at this time know for sure that it will be possible. Yeah, that there's basically that. Let's see. So Portland or Seattle as a tourist. I suppose that really depends on what type of tourist you are and what you're going for. Look, if you're going for events, Seattle honestly is Seattle's probably better. Seattle has like a few big music festivals that are probably just better all around. Let's see. So out of curiosity, what time frame were you thinking about? Because one good example, I mean, what David says is true. Though I don't know, that may have been, I'm not sure if the law has reverted yet. Look, putting it simply, Portland was kind of the Amsterdam of the US for a little bit. Okay, so if you happen to be going at the tail, oh yeah, definitely don't show up during winter. Hell no. But if you happen to be thinking about it for, let's say, August 31st through September 1st, there is an event that goes on in Seattle called Bumbershoot. I know, the name is something, but Bumbershoot is a giant music well, maybe not giant, but it's a really big music festival. Or rather, I guess it's just a big festival that happens to include a lot of music. They have not, to my knowledge, they haven't announced who's going to be playing yet. But in fact, the announcement is due this month, though they don't have a date yet. But yeah, anyway, so Bumbershoot is going to be happening if you're coming at the end of August. Just in general, Seattle has a lot more events, I think. Portland does have a lot of events. They do have some neat stuff. Portland is a little bit more one of those places that you show up and you kind of hang a little bit more with the locals. It is a little bit more of an eclectic scene. Portland is a really beautiful area, especially if you venture outside of the city. If you're not going to be staying just inside of the city the entire time, then go to Portland. Portland is positioned in a much, much better location for venturing outside of the city and checking out like hiking areas, nature. There's, just for example, and this may not be the best example, but like there is a really, really neat hot spring that is about I want to say about 90-minute drive outside of Portland. Maybe it's more than that. I don't quite remember. But, well, there's a bunch of hot springs up in the area, but there's one in particular that I think of that's really, really good. There's just a ton of stuff to do outside of Portland. Obviously a ton of stuff to do inside of Portland. It is the fifth largest city on the West Coast. So, there's a lot of stuff to do there. It's just the events are not what I immediately think of. So yeah, I guess it just depends on what kind of thing you want to see or do. I would also argue food in Portland is better. Seattle food is great. Portland food is better. Let's see. Trying to think if there was any. Oh, also, if you are renting a car, don't be in Seattle. Seattle sucks for driving, or rather for parking. Parking in Seattle is one of the worst experiences I think I've ever had driving. In fact, driving in Seattle with Washington drivers is one of the worst experiences I've ever had driving. Portland is the driving experience is mostly fine. Typical traffic jams and stuff like that, but for the most part, there are parking lots, there are parking structures that you can actually get into. It doesn't cost an arm and a leg to park places, whereas Seattle is expensive for parking, and it's just ungodly terrible of an experience driving in Seattle. But Portland, none of those issues. It's actually pretty nice for driving. Notably, as long as you're not driving during rush hours. Driving during rush hours, forget it. Just find a spot, pull off on the side of the road, chill out for a bit. Once the traffic clears in 45 minutes, then resume driving. Which, to be fair, I think that's something that has to be said in like every major city. So, yeah, that's I think that's about the best immediate advice I could give. I'm sure if I knew a little bit more specific about what you'd want to see or do, I'd point you to one or the other more. But yeah, that kind of hits the basics. And seeing as you're coming from actual like real civilization, not like me, you might not be interested in some of the same stuff, or you might not want to find certain types of things, whereas my trips to Portland sometimes are just like, oh good, I'm in real civilization again. I might want to look for stores. I might want to look for, I might look for food, whereas other people wouldn't. Also big bonus for Portland. And look, this is going to be true of Seattle too. I'm not saying it isn't, but Portland, better seafood. Definitely better seafood in Portland. Don't ask why. It just is. Just letting you know now. Doesn't matter that doesn't matter what anybody tells you about Seattle seafood, because they love to think it's great, but Portland's is better. Okay, so anyway, think that about covers the immediate plans. And I don't know quite yet how long I'm going to be gone, but it's shaping up to be probably a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks or thereabout. So if I can't stream a RambleCast, then what I'll probably try to do is only miss one and then get back like the day before the next one would stream, and then that way I could still hit like, or I could skip only one would be kind of an ideal. I don't know. Again, these are ideas that are being kicked around. Nothing is set in stone quite yet. So, anyway, again, no other stories have really been brought up or suggested, so I think that is about the time to wrap it up. As always, if anyone would like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Of course, any little bit is welcome, helpful. You have no idea how helpful it is, and very much appreciated. Of course, huge thanks to Carson, Austin, David, Diablo, and Curvy Mermaid for being supporters of the channel. You guys are awesome. You're beautiful people. And one day, I'm certain of this, you will be revered. Revered, I tell you, for being around. And let's see. Again, I will be back this weekend for some gaming. And hopefully in the coming weeks consistently, but we'll see. And with that, I think that about covers it. So thank you all for coming by, hanging out, being part of the conversation, and I'll see you in the next one. Good night, everybody.